Okay, so good evening, students. To start to another session of your heat transfer. So in the session, we finished with the theory of basic conduction, that is steady state heat conduction without heat generation. We also discussed about the critical radius of insulation, and I did some 9 problems with that. The remaining problems I'll be working out today, and then we'll be starting with heat generation idea. Okay. So in the WhatsApp group, I also have sent you the PDF file of the problems that I'm going to conduct today. Okay. The first 9 problems have already been conducted in the last class. You can see that in the recording, those who have missed that class. So I'm continuing with the problem number 10. Okay, guys. Just hang on a minute. So this is your problem number 10 and as well as problem number 11. Okay. So for a given heat flow, this was asked in GATE examination. For a given heat flow and for same thickness, the temperature drop across the material will be maximum for which of this material? Option A is copper, option B is steel, option C is glass wool, and option D is refractory brick. So let's understand which material has the largest temperature drop. So if we take a plane, if we draw 2 plane walls, okay, if we just draw a plane wall here, let's say this is a plane wall. The material which has highest Ka value, K high means temperature drop will be low. Delta T will be what? Low. It does not require large temperature drop to conduct the heat. If K value is low, just hang on. If thermal conductivity value is low, then obviously delta T will be high. That means it will require a large temperature difference to conduct the heat. That's the basic idea of a conduction. Okay, so in this case, our temperature drop should be maximum. So what does that mean? The material is very poor in heat conductivity. So copper and steel are not the answer because they are very good conductors. So the option can be either C or D. Now, what we have seen is, remember, K of glass wool is lower than K of refractory brick. K of glass wool is lower than what? K of refractory brick. Just hang on, guys. So K of what? Refractory. So which material has the lowest heat thermal conductivity? Glass wool. So that is the answer. So answer is option C. Are you able to follow, guys? Students, are you able to follow here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, others. Amritanika, Devesh. Some of you may have not attended the last class. So you can get the recording from Ashwin sir. Ashwin sir will provide the recording for you and you can see that videos too. Okay, now during this time also, those who have not attended the class, if you are having any doubts, you can please ask me in the class itself. Okay. Okay, so actively ask me any doubts that you have. Okay, so answer is option C, glass. Now let's go to question number 11. As temperature increases, the thermal conductivity of the gas. So what will happen to thermal conductivity? See, in case of gases, thermal conductivity actually increases. As said earlier, thermal conductivity's relationship is similar to that of your density. Thermal conductivity is similar to density, or you can also say viscosity also. See, all these things are kind of having a similar behavior. So remember, in case of fluids, it is always related to density. Fluids, and when I talk about fluids, it can be either liquids or it can either be a gas. Okay. Now, in case of liquids, as the temperature increases, the density of the liquid decreases. You might be familiar with this phenomena, right? If you have seen oil in your winter climate, it's very hard. But once you heat it up, it starts to flow very easy. So for liquids, density decreases with increase in temperature. So viscosity decreases and thermal conductivity decreases. Whereas for gases, density and viscosities are governed by the molecular collision, and that is referred as molecular momentum transfer. So if you increase the temperature, this molecular momentum transfer increases. Hence, thermal conductivity also increases. Are you able to follow this here? This logic, I have discussed this in theory also. Guys, is the answer clear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So this is the basic idea, okay? So remember, density increases for gases as, just hang on a minute, as temperature increases due to increase in what? Increase in molecular momentum transfer. Okay, so this is what this molecular momentum transfer is, the logic for your kinetic theory of gases. Okay. Now let's go to the next question. So finish with question number 10 and 11. Now let's go to the next question. Question number 12. A one-dimensional unsteady state heat transfer equation for a sphere with heat generation at the rate of Q can be written as. So to solve this out, you actually have to remember your three-dimensional equation of a sphere. Now, what is the three-dimensional equation of a sphere? We have discussed this in theory. Let me write it again. The equation goes something like this. The equation goes something like this. 1 by r square dou by dou r into r square dou t by dou r plus 1 by r square sine square theta. This is r, okay. Dou square t by dou phi square plus 1 by r square sine theta into dou by dou t sine theta dou t by dou theta plus qg by k is equals to 1 by alpha dou capital T by just hang on a minute, guys. Okay, so what I say now? Dou theta by sine theta dou t by dou theta plus qg by k is equals to 1 by alpha dou t by dou small t. This is the equation. So this is the three-dimensional equation of what? Heat conduction equation in spherical coordinates. Now, our requirement is, let's read the question again. Our requirement is one-dimensional unsteady state. Okay, with heat generation. Understand? One-dimensional unsteady state heat transfer equation for sphere with heat generation. So let us understand what all things becomes zero. Since it is one-dimensional, I can take this term as zero, this term as zero. Heat generation, because that is necessary. As well as I need also unsteady state, so I cannot take this as zero. So what is the remaining equation now? 1 by r square into dou by dou r into r square dou t by dou r plus g by k is equals to 1 by alpha dou t by dou small t. So this is what the equation reduces out to be. So the answer is what? So this is what the equation is, okay? So the answer comes out to be, just hang on a minute. So the answer, guys, the answer is, I think so, option B, okay? So please note down, the answer is what? Option B for question number 12. I think so there has been some issue with the writing board. Okay. So guys, is it clear? So answer is what? Option B. Hello, please respond.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there has been some issue. Let me do one thing. Let me start with a new screen. So as a continuation, I use the old screen. So let me start with the new screen. Okay. So do I need to repeat question number 12 again? Are you able to answer that, guys? You got the answer, right? Hello, students, please
Sir.
respond. Okay, so the answer to question number 12 is option B, okay? Okay, now let's go to the next question, question number 13. So this is your question number 30, and this is your question number 40. Okay, two theory questions. Let's read the question. In a case of one-dimensional heat conduction in a medium with constant properties, T is the temperature at position X at a time T. Then dou T by dou T is proportional to. What is the equation of plane wall? Do you remember the equation of plane wall? Let me write it down. The three-dimensional equation goes something like this. Dou square T by dou X square plus dou square T by dou Y square plus dou square T by dou Z square plus Qg by K equal to 1 by alpha dou T by dou small t. This is the three-dimensional equation. Now, what is the situation here? One-dimensional heat conduction in a medium with constant properties. And here also we have to assume proportionality. Okay, so let's do one thing. Since it is one-dimensional, this term can be taken as 0. This term can be taken as 0. Okay. Now, since nothing is mentioned as heat generation, if nothing is mentioned, by default, we can always take heat generation as 0. Because if there is a heat generation, they have to mention it. Okay. Now I cannot take this as 0 because nothing is said about steady or unsteady. And I want one more thing. I need to find the proportionality of dou t by dou small t. So what the equation comes out to be? If I take this alpha on the other side, dou t by dou small t is equals to alpha times dou square t by dou x square. What is this alpha? Alpha is known as thermal diffusivity. Alpha is known as for thermal diffusivity. Okay, that's a material property, so you can neglect that. So our requirement is, what is the proportionality idea then? Dou t by dou small t is proportional to what? Dou square t by dou x square. So that is what they have asked me. So what is the correct answer? Answer is option D. So dou capital T by dou small t, where small t stands for time, is proportional to dou square t by dou x square. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Others too also respond, guys. Don't be silent, because your response is what determines whether you understood or not. Otherwise, this will be entirely a boring session. Okay. Okay, next step, let's go to question number 14. Let's read the question. Which of the relationship is correct representation of a Fourier equation? Again, let's work out that logic. Now here something known as del square t is coming into picture, right? I can write the same equation in the vector format like this. Do you know how this equation can also be represented in the vector format in this particular manner? The generalized form actually goes something like this. Del into k del t plus qg plus what? Qg is equals to k by alpha dou t by dou small t. This is one of the vector representation or generalization of the heat conduction equation. Now this is assuming what? K is variable. Okay, this is assuming what? K is variable. Let me show the idea how it works out. Understood the scenario here? For those who are not able to follow, how did I got this? What happens here is, if K is actually different, you get something like this. Dou by dou x into kx dou t by dou x plus dou by dou y into ky dou t by dou y plus dou by dou z into kz dou t by dou z plus qg is equals to k by alpha dou t by dou small t. Q is not heat flux, it is actually heat generation. Qg stands for heat generation. Are you talking about Qg, or are you meaning just Q? What is the value of Q? Tanha? Okay, you are just meaning the definition of Q, right? Generally speaking, Q stands for rate of heat flow. Rate of heat flow. What do you mean by rate of heat flow? That is quantity of heat flowing per unit time. That is joule per second is the unit. Quantity of heat flowing per unit time. Flux is referred by Q by A. This is what is known as heat flux. We normally represent that by small q. Tanna, is that clear? Okay. So let me proceed with this problem. Guys, this is the same conduction equation. What I've done here is, I am assuming that my K is not a constant here. Okay. So actually K, it's proper way of writing this, rather than writing this in K by rho alpha, rho C. Write this in these terms. Okay. So this is the same equation. The only consideration here is K is not same, or K is not constant in all the directions. So this is the generalization. The same thing is what I've done in vector quantities. The same equation, I've rearranged this in terms of vector quantities, where this del vector stands for, this is known as nabla vector, I bar plus dou by dou y j bar plus dou by dou z k bar. Got the logic here? Guys, are you able to understand this three-dimensional heat conduction equation for a plane wall or Cartesian system? What are the different varieties of it? Are you able to follow here?
Yes, sir.
Others,
sir.
please, guys, respond. Aneka, Devesh, Meet.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay. So now what we are going to do with the question? Let's understand that. Correct representation of Fourier's relationship. So correct representation of Fourier's relationship is, to understand relationship steady state. In Fourier's relationship, first assumption is the heat conduction equation is in steady state. So if it is steady, this term will become 0. Second assumption is, in Fourier equation, there is no heat generation. So if this two terms become 0, the only term remaining is this. So Fourier's equation is del vector into k del vector t is equal to 0. So this is the Fourier's equation in 3 dimensions. So answer, sorry. So the answer is actually option D. Del k delta t is equal to 0. Del square t is equal to 0 is a representation of what? Laplace equation. This is the Laplace equation. Okay. This is actually Poisson's equation. Got the idea? So remember, del square t is equal to 0 represents what? Laplace's equation. Del square t plus q, this small q stands for actually here heat generation. See, the representation that I used was qg. The small q that they're representing here is standing for heat generation. Okay. My notation and here's notation are not matching. That's the only thing is happening here. But you must be familiar with all these things. If sometimes notation suddenly changes, you must be able to deduce that. So the small q is not heat flux, it is what? Heat generation. So in some textbook, heat generation is denoted by small q. The reason why I don't prefer to use that is because you will get confused between heat flux and this term. So to avoid that, I use qg. So g, that g suffix in the denominator itself gives you an idea of it's a generation heat. So I hope this problem is clear to everyone. So understood different types of equations here. So this is your Fourier's equation. And this is your answer. Now let's go to the next question. Excuse me. So question number 15. The temperature distribution in a concrete slab is given by T is equals to 3x square plus 3x plus 16, where x is in centimeters. Alpha is equal to 0.03. Temperature is in Kelvin. dt by dt, that is the rate of change of temperature with respect to time is. You have to find this value. Okay, so let's work it out. So what is the general equation? D square t by dx square plus dou square t by dou y square. Just hang on a minute. Dou square plus dou square t by dou z square plus qg by k is equals to 1 by alpha dou t by dou small t. So this is your general equation, right? Now, if you see the temperature profile is in x direction. So what is the first thing? This is 0, this is 0. Now, here nothing is mentioned about a heat generation, anything like that. So I can assume that Qg is also 0. So one dimension, so only dou square t by dou x square and 1 by alpha dou t by dou. That I cannot neglect this here. The reason I cannot neglect dou t by dou small t is I need to find that value. Here instead of t, they use the term tau, where tau stands for time. So what is the equation? Dou square t by dou x square is equals to 1 by alpha dou t by dou small t. So dou t by dou small t is equals to alpha into dou square by dou x square into what is the equation of temperature in terms of x? 3x square plus 3x plus 16. So substitute that. 3x square plus 3x plus 16. Now try to work it out. So alpha into what is the first derivative of 3x square plus 3x plus 16? So when you take the first derivative, the answer will be 6x plus 3. Now when we take one more derivative, the answer will be alpha into 6. I think so alpha's value is given to you. Where is that? 0.003. So substitute that. 0.003 into 6. So solving answer is what? 0.018. That's it. So answer is 0.018. That is option D. Got the logic here? Got the answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the answer of your what? Question number, this thing. Yeah. Question number, I think so 50. Yeah, 50. Now let's jump to next question. So question number 60. It's a theory question. In a composite slab, the temperature difference at the interface between the two materials is equal to the average of the temperature at the two ends. Assuming steady one-dimensional heat conduction, which of the following statement is true about the respective thermal conductivities? 2K1 equal to K2, K1 equal to K2, 2K1 equal to 3K2, or K1 is equal to 2K2. Okay, so Ti stands for interface temperature. T1 and T2 stands the outer temperature. Okay, since these two are walls, right? This is wall 1. Let us say this is wall 1 and this is wall 2. This is in series, so the heat transfer to both the walls will be same. So Q will be equal to T1 minus Ti divided by what is the resistance of wall 1? Resistance of wall 1. Let us write it as R1 is equals to what is the heat transfer through wall 2? Higher temperature is Ti and lower temperature is T2. So Ti minus T2 divided by R2. Now, let's take these two equations and let's compare it out. So T1 minus Ti, what is the resistance of first wall? The width of the first wall is 2b. You can see here. The width of the first wall is what? 2b. So 2b divided by K1 into A is equals to Ti minus T2 divided by what is the width of second wall? Width of second wall is B and thermal conductivity is K2. So B divided by K2 into A. I think so I can cancel BB out. I can also cancel A out. Now what will happen to the equation? K1 by 2 into T1 minus Ti is equals to K2 into Ti minus T2. Okay, so let us call this as equation number 1. Now something about interface temperature is mentioned in the question. Let's work it out. In the composite slab, the temperature at the interface between the two materials is equal to the average of the temperature at the ends. That means Ti is actually what? Ti interface temperature Ti is average of the T1 and T2. You know, this is how we take the average. So 2 Ti is equals to T1 plus T2. Okay, so 2 Ti can be written as Ti plus Ti is equals to T1 plus T2. Now, take T2 on the left hand side and take 1 Ti on the right hand side. So Ti minus T2 is equals to T1 minus Ti. So this is your equation number 2. You remember your equation number 1. So T1 minus Ti and Ti minus T2. So in the equation number 1, I can cancel it out. So from 1 and 2, Ti minus T2 and T1 minus Ti, they both get cancelled out. So K1 by 2 is equals to K2. Therefore, K1 by 2 is equals to K2. Or if you take 2 on the other side, K1 is equals to 2K2. So this is the relationship between K1 and K2. So what is the correct option? K1 is equals to 2K2. Answer is option D. Guys, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Others? Chaksu, Anaka, Akash.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Rishi. Okay, clear. Okay, thank you. So this is the answer of this. Now let's go to the next question. Guys, are you able to hear me, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So next question number 17. Okay, the question goes like this. The heat flows through a composite slab as shown below. The depth of the slab is 1 meter. the K values are in watt per meter Kelvin. The overall thermal resistance in Kelvin per watt is. So we have to find the overall thermal resistance. Okay, so K1 is there. K2 and K3, these two are actually in parallel. As I said earlier, whenever you see such a figure, you always try to draw the resistance of this, like a resistance electrical network. So the resistance network is what? First is K1 or R1. Then your R2 and R3 are going to be parallel to each other. And then, so there are, this is one junction, this is another junction. So this is your R1, this is your R2, and this is your R3. Our objective of the question is to find the equivalent of this entire network. You might be familiar with solving series and parallel resistance from your electrical system, right? From your 11th and 12th standard. So I'm going to solve it. So R equivalent directly can be written as, answer is 2, which is 236. Okay, Tana, are you answering this question or something else? Answer is not 236. Okay, let me work it out first of all. So R equivalent is, now here you can see that R1 and the equivalent of R2 and R3 are in series. So R1 plus R23 equivalent. Now how to solve parallel? Parallel is something like this. 1 by R23 equivalent will be 1 by R2 plus 1 by R3. Or R23 equivalent, when you simplify this equation, it becomes R2 multiplied by R3 divided by R2 plus R3. This is what you do for parallel resistance. Okay, so this is how we solve a parallel resistance network. Now, our final full equivalent will be R1 plus R2 R3 divided by R2 plus R3. Now, all you have to do is separately find R1, R2, and R3. Let's start. R1 is, okay. R1 is, what is the width? 0.5 meter. What is the height? 1 meter. Nothing is mentioned about the, depth of the slab is 1 meter. That is into the page. Remember, the depth they are talking about is into the page. I cannot show in the figure here. And that is 1 meter. Then K value is given 0.02. So R for plane wall, R of a wall is given by what? L by K. So L1 by K1 into A1. What is L1? 0.05 divided by, what is K1? Sorry guys. 0.5 on 0.05. 0.5. K1 is 0.02 into area is what? 1 into 1. See, how did I say 1 into 1? See, this is the entire wall, right? So height of the wall is 1. Depth of the wall into the page or perpendicular to the page is 1. Are you getting this? Now we just have to solve it out. So answer comes out to be 25 Kelvin per watt. The unit of resistance is Kelvin per watt. Now, what about R2? Similarly, solve it out. L2 by K2 A2. What is thickness of the second wall? Just see the diagram here. 0.25. What is K2 of the second wall? 0.1. Height of the second wall is 0.5. Depth is again 1. So L2 is 0.25, K2 is 0.1, and area is 0.5 into 1. So when you solve out, you get 5 Kelvin per watt. And finally, R3. R3 is what? L3 divided by K3 into A3. I think so. Depth of L2 and L3 are same, which is 0.25. Now, what is K3 value? Let's see in the question. 0.04, and again, this height is going to be this. Total height is 1 meter, and this is also going to be 0.5 meter. So R3 will be 0.04 is the K3 value, and area is what again? 0.5 into 1. Solve it up, you get the answer as 12.5 Kelvin per watt. So R1, R equivalent will be what? 25. That is your R1 plus R2 multiplied by R3. That is 5 multiplied by 12.5 divided by 5 plus 12.5. Now you can use your calculators. I'm directly giving you the value. The answer is 28.57 Kelvin per watt. Okay, so this is your answer. Guys, is the answer clear here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, so answer option is what? 28.6. Answer is option C. Tana, understood the issue here? Okay. So others also, I hope this is clear. Okay. So answer is 28.57. Now let's go to the next question. So you must be comfortable with solving parallel networks too. So this is how we solve parallel networks. The logic is entirely similar to your earlier resistance idea that you studied in electricity or electrical concepts. Now let's go to the next question. Okay, so question number 18. With an increase in thickness of the insulation, let me repeat. With an increase in thickness of the insulation around a circular pipe, the heat loss to surrounding due to conduction and convection. What happens when you increase the thickness of insulation around a circular pipe? Convection heat transfer always increases. Conduction heat transfer will decrease. Why conduction heat transfer is decreasing? Because you are providing an insulator whose K value, that is thermal conductivity value, is what? Low. That's why conduction is decreasing. Now, why convection is increasing? Because over a circular pipe, when you add an insulation, what happens is the surface area of the pipe increases. That's why convection heat transfer is increasing. The correct answer is option A. Convection increases while heat due to conduction decreases. What's the idea here? Why conduction is decreasing and convection is increasing?
Sir, can you explain with respect to convection, means how it increases?
Okay, let me show you with a diagram. You can get an idea from the diagram itself. Just let me draw a circle here. Okay. Okay, let's say this is a pipe, okay? This is one pipe. I'm not provided any insulation here. So this is your inner radius R1 and this is your outer radius R2, a hollow cylinder body. Okay. Now, This surface area of this cylinder body is this outer surface area. Okay, obviously, let's say the temperature inside is higher and temperature outside is lower. So if it is rejecting heat, this is your surface area. Now let me do one thing. Let me introduce a insulator. So let me draw one more circle here. So let's say this is my insulator. The shaded region is what? My insulator. Now, if there was no insulator, what would have happened? Just wait a minute. Okay, I'm not getting the annotation. Okay. Just remember one thing. If there was no insulation, this was my outer surface wall. But because of insulation, my outer surface of the cylinder is now this. So you can see here that obviously the surface area of the cylinder has increased because of insulation. So that's the reason why the outer convection heat transfer increases. But remember one thing, insulator is a material with K value what? Very low. So if K value is low, the conduction heat transfer must decrease. Right? Are you following me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Understood. Is this clear now? Why this is increasing and other is decreasing?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay. Others, anyone has any doubt? Okay. So I hope this is clear to others also. Okay. So this is the diagrammatic representation. This is how, and this is how we actually develop the concept of critical radius of insulation. To get this, how did we prove it out? I've discussed that in the previous session itself. Critical radius of insulation, I've discussed the entire proof too, so that people does not just sit and by heart all these scenarios. Okay. So the answer of 18 is this. Now let's go to question number 90. Up to critical radius of insulation, what will happen? So for that, to answer this, let me show you a diagram, plot actually. In case of cylinder as well as sphere, this is the plot of Q versus R. Okay. Now let's say this vertical line represents your critical radius of insulation. So this is what your RC. So how is the heat transfer behaving? Let's say if I'm starting from a very small thickness of insulation, your heat transfer actually increases when you add insulator. At critical radius of insulation, it reaches a maximum value and then it decreases like this. Okay, let me repeat. If you're starting from a very small insulation, as you increase the radius, your heat transfer rate increases, and then it reaches maximum at which value? At critical radius of insulation. This is your critical, RC stands for critical radius of insulation. This is where your heat transfer is maximum. If you take Q, Q is what? Maximum. And then it decreases. So this is the behavior of a insulation in which materials? Cylinder and sphere. For plain wall, the behavior is not like this. Plain wall, whenever you add insulator, heat transfer will decrease. Whereas for cylinder and sphere, sometimes adding the insulator increases the heat transfer rate. Okay. Based on it, I discussed in detail about two special scenarios known as maximization and minimization idea. Now let's see here. Up to critical radius of insulation. That is, you're starting from here and you're moving up to critical radius of insulation. Convection heat loss will be less than conduction. No, that is always opposite. Convection heat loss is always greater than conduction. That's why heat transfer rate is increased. Heat flux will decrease. No, heat flux is almost a constant. Added insulation will increase heat loss. That is the correct answer. Added insulation. See, if I'm starting from here and if I increase the critical thickness up to RC, any insulation that I add up to RC is going to increase the heat transfer. Okay, so the explanation of this entire thing is in this diagram itself, this graph itself. I hope everyone is clear with the graph. Anyone has any doubt here? Amrita, Devesh, Shankar, Sham, Pia, Shat, Mohammed, Basha. Guys, are you clear? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So either you respond through chat or actually use your mics to respond when I ask you to respond. Okay. Because your input is what drives my teaching. Because if you don't know, then this process is very boring to you. Okay. And actively doubts whenever you ask me. Just don't ask in the middle of my when I'm trying to state here. Don't ask in the middle of this. When I finish it and when I ask you whether you have any doubt, you can actually respond whatever doubts you have. Okay. So this is the answer. So answer is what? Option C. Now let's go to the next question. Question number what? Question number 20. Yeah. Let me reload. Okay, question number 20. The heat flow equation through a cylinder of inner radius R1 and outer radius R2 is desired in the forms as that for a heat flow through a plane wall. The equivalent R AM is. Now this was actually discussing a theory. We call this as logarithmic mean area of a cylinder, or logarithmic mean area of a cylinder. So what is this idea is, for those who haven't attended the classes, let me repeat this scenario. Logarithmic mean area of a cylinder is actually a concept in which, let me show you with a diagram for those who haven't attended the class. Okay, so let's say this is a cylinder. And this is a plane wall. Okay. Now, so this is your R1 and this is your R2. Now, consider a wall whose thickness is R2 minus R1. That is a thickness similar to that of cylinder. Temperature difference is also same. Let's see here T1, T2. Here also, let's say temperature is T2. And here also the temperature is what? T1. And they have the same heat transfer. And what? They have the same heat transfer. So LMA is that area of a plane wall having same thickness, as that of cylinder. Let me do one thing. Having same thickness, same temperature difference, and same heat transfer rate. Same heat transfer rate as that of cylinder. So what is similar in both the diagrams? Temperature difference is same, thickness is same, that is R2 minus R1 is the thickness of cylinder. I'm using the same thickness here, and the heat transfer is also same. So to achieve this in a plane wall, the area that I require is known as logarithmic mean area. Understood the concept, guys?
Yes, sir.
Sir, is a heat transfer proportional to loss then? Yeah. See, heat transfer and heat loss means I'm actually rejecting heat to some lower temperature, right? So that's why it is referred as a loss. Understood that scenario? Okay, so this is actually coming from thermodynamics. The reason is why we refer this heat as a loss is, see, in thermodynamics, the most important entity is temperature, not actually heat. Heat is not an important entity, rather temperature is the important entity. So if I have a higher temperature, I get a good useful heat because that heat can be used for any other process. But the heat from a low temperature device is actually not usable. So when the heat is traveling from high temperature to low temperature, in thermodynamic sense, we refer always that as heat loss. That's the only way in which they talk. That's the only way in which they talk here. That's what they mean here. Got the idea? So it's kind of like a philosophical idea. The reason is heat at a low temperature is a useless entity, whereas heat at a high temperature is very useful because that can be used for producing work. It's because of that particular scenario. Okay. Here you don't think in terms of loss and everything like that. You just think in terms of what? Heat transfer. And heat is going to transfer from high temperature to low temperature. Okay. Topic David. So this is LMA. So LMA, I have proved it out. I'm not sitting and proving it here. The logarithmic mean area was given by the formula A1 minus A2 divided by log of A1 by A2. Now, why this was referred as LMA is the denominator function is a logarithmic function. That's why. Okay, so the formula that I have discussed this in theory, you can see the theory video to get the how did I derive the formula derivation from the theory video. Okay, so the answer comes out to be this thing, option D. So here you might be asking, this is A2 minus A1. Yeah, that's actually one and the same. I wrote this in terms of A1 minus A2 multiplied by minus on numerator and denominator. This is also equal to A2 by A1. So if this is A2 by A1, then log will become what? That's it. You can use any one of the formula. Both are same. Okay. So this is what? Question number 20. So answer was what? Option D. Now question number 21 is below here itself. What will the geometric radius of a heat transfer for a hollow sphere of inner and outer radius R1 and R2? So for a cylinder, if it is logarithmic mean area, then for a sphere, it is geometric mean area. For sphere, it is what? GMA. For sphere, it was what? GMA. So what are the formula for that? AM will be equal to square root of A1, A2. AM will be equal to what? Square root of AM, A2. So, in terms of radius, if you solve it out, it comes out to be RM will be equal to square root of R1, R2. Okay, so the answer is option A. Why this is called a geometric mean area is because your average area is the square root of two numbers. Square root of two numbers is always known as geometric mean. That's why in sphere it is referred as geometric mean area. In cylinder, because I get a logarithmic function, it is referred as logarithmic mean area. Got both these answers? Guys, any doubt in any of the problems here? 20 and 21.
No, sir.
Others,
sir.
guys? Okay. Others, please respond. Shankar, Sham,
No, sir.
Sana. Okay. Devesh. Okay. Clear. Anaka, I hope everyone is clear. Okay. Next. Question number 22. Okay, this is an insulation problem again asked in IIT Bombay. This was asked for different branches, same question with same data. This was a very rare question. This was asked for mechanical branch. This was asked for, I think so, production too. Okay, same question. I think so in production, one of the values was changed. That's it. For mechanical, the same question with entire same values. Okay. So for question number 22, right? For a current carrying wire of this thing, 20 mm diameter exposed to air, the maximum heat dissipation occurs when thickness of insulation is. So let's first of all find what is the critical thickness, critical radius of insulation, RC. The formula of RC for a cylinder is K insulator divided by heat transfer coefficient of the outer fluid. That HO stands for outer fluid. This is for what? Cylinder. Got the idea here? Our wire is a cylindrical body, so you can use this formula. Now, RC will be equal to, what is the insulation's thermal conductivity? 0.5. What is outer air's H value? 25. So 0.5 divided by 25. So when you solve out, you get RC is equal to 0.02 meter. Convert this into millimeter. So how much is RC in millimeter? 20 millimeter. So this is your critical radius of insulation. What is diameter of the wire? Diameter of the wire is 20 mm. So what is radius of the wire? 10 mm. Take the half of the diameter, right? So thickness of the insulation will be critical RC minus R of wire. So what is RC? 20 minus 10, that is 10 mm. That's it. Answer is option B. Is this clear?
So can you show the solution?
Okay. Finish writing the solution?
Yes, sir.
Oh, just hang on a minute. And let's go to the next question. Question number 23. It is desired to increase the heat dissipation rate over the surface of an electronic device of spherical shape of 5 mm radius exposed to convection with H of 10 watt per meter square Kelvin by encasing it in a spherical sheet of conductivity 0.04. For maximum heat flow, the diameter of the sheet must be. Okay, let's work it out. So this is also for maximum heat flow. Obviously, you have to operate at which scenario? Critical radius of insulation. Remember, here also again a sphere is covered with what? Some insulator. This material has a low K value. No? So this indicates what? Some insulator. So, but by giving insulator, you have to not decrease the heat transfer rate, rather you have to increase the heat transfer rate. If you want to increase the heat transfer rate, you have to provide thickness such that the outer radius is equal to RC. Okay, outer radius of the sphere must be equal to what? RC. So let's first of all find what is this RC value for a sphere. And the formula for sphere goes something like this. 2 times of K insulator divided by HO. For cylinder, it was what? K insulation by HO. But for sphere, it is 2 times of K insulation by outer heat transfer coefficient. Now, most of the people get confused with the K value. Which K value should we consider? There are 2 K values here. Actually, it is not mentioned, but sometimes to confuse you, what they do is our inner materials K value is also mentioned. Outer materials K value is also mentioned. That is your insulators. Only consider the K value of the insulator. Inner material K value does not have any effect. So 2 into K insulation is what? 0.04 divided by heat transfer coefficient is what? 10. So when you solve it out, you get the answer as what? 8 mm. The answer is 8 mm. Okay, you get actually 0.008 meter. When you convert this into mm, you get 8 mm. So this is the RC value. So what is diameter of the insulation? 16 mm. 2 times of RC. Diameter of insulation will be 16 mm. Now what is our requirement? Just wait a minute. The diameter of the sheet must be. So diameter of insulation must be the diameter of the sheet. So for maximum heat transfer, diameter of sheet must be equal to diameter of the critical, which is what? 16 mm. So that is the answer. The answer is what? Option B, 16 mm. Is this problem clear? Okay. Now let's go to the next question. Question number 24. Okay. A hollow pipe of 1 centimeter outer dia is to be insulated by a thick cylindrical insulation having thermal conductivity of 1 watt per meter Kelvin. The surface heat transfer coefficient on the insulation surface is 5 watt per meter square Kelvin. What is the minimum effective thickness of insulation for causing the reduction in heat leakage from the insulated pipe? Okay, so the minimum effective thickness is RC. So how to find minimum effective thicknesses? First of all, let's find RC. Since this is what is that? Cylindrical pipe, so RC will be K insulation by HO. What is the insulator thermal conductivity? I think so it is given as 1 and H value is 5. So 1 divided by 5, which is what? 0.2 meter, or in centimeter it is what, 20 centimeter. So this is your critical radius of insulation. Now our requirement is to find thickness. That what is that? Minimum effective thickness. So minimum effective thickness will start with RC. So it is RC minus R of pipe. What is RC? 20. R of pipe is what? What is the diameter of the pipe? 1 centimeter. So the radius of the pipe is what? 0.5 centimeter. So 20 minus 0.5, which is what? 19.5 centimeter. So the answer is option C. That's it. This is the minimum effective thickness. Any thickness more than this will decrease the heat transfer rate. And our purpose is to decrease the heat transfer rate. So this is the minimum effective thickness. Any value more than this will decrease the heat transfer rate because it will be giving more than RC value. So your heat transfer will drop down according to the graph. So guys, 3 problems of insulation I did. Is that clear? Any doubts in the insulation idea? Anyone has any doubt? Please ask me the questions. Guys, please respond. Are you able to follow it?
Yes, sir.
Others? Riyasat, Rishi, Vidu. Okay. Okay, that's it. So I hope everyone has been able to follow this question. Now there are 2 more questions and then we'll finish the numerical side. Let's come to question number 25. So let's read the question. A composite hollow sphere with steady internal heating is made up of 2 layers of material of equal thickness with thermal conductivities in the ratio of 1:2 for inner to outer layer. Ratio of the inside to outside diameter is 0.8. What is the ratio of temperature drop across the inner and outer layers? Okay. So let's draw the diagram. So this is your first material. This is your second material. This is hollow, okay? So R1 is the inner radius of the first material and R2 is the outer radius of the second material. With respect, sorry, R2 is the outer radius of the first material itself. Now, R2 can also be treated as inner radius of the second material and R3 is the outer radius of the second material. Okay, now heat transfer rate is same. So if heat transfer rate is same, this is series network, you understand, right? A cylinder one over the other is actually a representation of a series network in terms of resistance when the direction of heat flow is what? Radial in nature. So this can also be taken as resistance in series. We have discussed this in theory. So R1 resistance, R2 resistance. So if your cylinder is one over the other, this is a representation of what? Series network. So now for series network, the heat transfer rate through one layer is always the same. So we can say that Q is equals to, let's say the temperature here is T1, here the temperature is T2, and the temperature here is T3. So T1 minus T2 divided by R1 is equals to T2 minus T3 divided by R2. So T1 minus T2 is what? Change in temperature of what? Divided by, what is the resistance for a cylinder? It is 1 by 2 pi K. For first cylinder, it will be K1 into length of the cylinder into log of outer radius by inner radius. What is the formula for resistance of a cylinder? 1 by 2 pi KL log of outer radius by inner radius. Delta T1 stands for T1 minus T2. Now T2 minus T3 can be written as delta T2 divided by, again, outer cylinder, outer is also cylinder, so same formula. What is the difference? Instead of K1, I'll be writing K2 because this is another material, log of. Then outer radius for the second material is R3 and inner radius is R2. So R3 divided by R2. Got the idea here? So that T1 minus T2 is taken as delta T1. This is the resistance formula for a cylinder, 1 by 2 pi KL. Instead of K, I wrote K1L because here it is K1. L stands for length of the cylinder, which is perpendicular to the bore. I cannot show that length here. Now, T2 minus T3 is taken as delta T2. Here, instead of K1, K2 will be coming into picture, log of R3 bar. Okay. Now, what is given to us? First of all, what we can simplify here, 2 pi gone. L gone, that's it. Okay. So this K1, 1 by K1 goes in the numerator. So K1 delta T1 divided by log of R2 by R1 is equals to K2 delta T2 divided by log of R3 by R2. That's it. Let's write this as equation 1. Now, what is the given data? Some data is given to us. Let's see the question. Aneka, what is the doubt here? Oh, my mistake. Guys. Sorry. I thought this was a cylinder. This is a sphere. So there's a small mistake here. Guys, you have to do a correction here. I consider this as cylinder. This is actually a sphere. So for sphere, the equation is 1 by 4 pi K1 log of, log 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2 is equals to 1 by 4 pi K2 into 1 by inner radius minus 1 by outer radius. Guys, I made a small mistake here. I took this as cylinder. That's why I was solving in terms of cylinder. This is actually in terms of sphere. You can see the question here itself. A composite hollow sphere with steady internal heating. This is hollow sphere. So I have to do a correction here. So guys, please do this correction. So this will also change. So here I think so K 4 pi can be cancelled out. So what you get is K1 delta T1 by 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2 equal to delta T2 divided by, K2 delta T2 divided by 1 by R2 minus 1 by R3. Guys, understood my mistake here? Can you please do that correction? Guys, any doubt in the correction?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I made a mistake of consider this as a cylinder. This is actually a sphere. Okay. Now let's come to the data here, which we were actually trying to do earlier. With two layers of equal thickness. So thickness is same. The thermal conductivity is in the ratio of 1:2 for inner and outer layers. Ratio of inside to outside diameter is 0.8. So thickness is same. So let's see how to arrange this. So what I'm going to do here is, in this scenario, I'm going to take R2 common. So K1 delta T1 divided by, if I take R2 common, I get R2 by R1 minus 1. K2 delta T2. Here also I'm taking the R2 common. So 1 minus R2 by R3. Okay. Now R2 same thing, so get cancelled out. Now the data given us K1 by K2 is equals to 1 by 2. So what is 2 times of K1 is equals to K2. That's one thing. Next. Outer radius, or what is given to us? It is actually what? Ratio of inside to outside diameter. Now, just here. Inside diameter of the first cylinder is R1 by R2. Inside is R1, outside is R2. For second sphere, it is R2 by R3. This is actually equal to 0.8. Let me repeat. For first sphere, R1 by R2. R1 is the inside radius, R2 is the outside radius. For second sphere, R2 is the inner one and R3 is the outer one. Now for both the materials, the ratio of this is 0.8. That's it. Now you have to just substitute it here. So replace K, keep K1 as it is, replace K2 by 2K1. So K1 delta T divided by, what is the ratio here? R2 by R1. R1 by R2 is 0.8, so R2 by R1 is 1 by 0.8. Equal to 2K1 delta T2. Remember, this is K1, I'm not doing anything here. But here K2 is replaced by what? 2K2 divided by 1 minus 0.8. 1 minus 0.8. Here you can see here, what is that? Yeah, R2 by R3, and here also R2 by R3. This is actually R3. Please correct it. Now you just have to solve it up. So obviously K1, K2 gets cancelled out. Our requirement is to find delta T1 by delta T2, which is what? 2 into 1 by 0.8, 1 by 0.8 minus 1 by 1 minus 0.8. You can solve it in a calculator, or you can solve it even manually, and the final answer comes out to be around 5 by 2. The answer comes out to be what? 5 by 2 or 2.5. So answer is option D. Guys, are you able to follow this question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's finish with the last question, and we are finishing with what? Numericals of this. So question number 26. If the outside diameter of the cylinder is made double of the inner diameter, then the heat transfer rate will be. Okay, something is given about the ratio of inner and outer dia. Okay. So let's first of all write the heat transfer rate for a cylinder general formula. Q is equals to T1 minus T2 divided by R of cylinder. What is R of cylinder? This is cylinder, right? Yeah. R of cylinder is 1 by 2 pi KL log of outer radius by inner radius. Now take this. This is the R of cylinder. So take this and substitute it here. So Q is equals to T1 minus T2 divided by 1 by 2 pi KL log of R2 by R1. Now let's see any data is given here. Outside diameter is double the inside diameter. 2 inside, the inside. So what is given to us? D2 by D1 is 2, or R2 by R1 is also 2. Ratio of diameter and ratio of radius are same. So R2 by R1 can be replaced by log. So Q is equals to 2 pi KL can be taken entirely in the numerator. T1 minus T2 divided by log of 2. Okay. Now, 2 pi divided by log of 2, you can find it in your calculators. I think so. If you take 2 pi divided by log of 2 and keep the other things outside, or actually what they have done in the option here, let's see here. Oh, they have kept 2 pi KL as same. They have taken the reciprocal of log. So 1 by log 2 they found out. 1 by log 2 is 1.443. So Q is equals to 1.443. That is reciprocal of log. Other thing they have kept like this. They have not changed it here. So the answer comes out to be which one? Option A. So the answer is, just hang on a minute, option A. Got the logic here?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So guys, so this is the end of your problems. Now it's almost 8:30. So the problem is, if I even start discussing this internal heat transfer, I will take around 45 to 1 hour to complete that. So can I wind up today's session right now? And we can do the internal heat transfer tomorrow. Is that okay? Guys, please respond.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tomorrow's topic will be steady state heat transfer with internal heat generation and fins. The theory of those two topics I will be discussing in detail with all the proof, with all your proof sufficient for your GATE examination. Now remember, I won't be discussing the entire concept. I will be only discussing those topics that is necessary for your competitive exams. Okay, you don't have to go depth in those topics. Now remember one thing, conductions 50% is over. Most of your conductions, 50 to 60% of the questions will be asked from the topic that I've discussed up to now. Okay, the topics that I'm going to discuss tomorrow, they may not come every year. They may come or may not come. It's not always guaranteed. But the topic that I've discussed right now will always come as one single question. At least one question will come from this topic. So the important part already I have finished. I'm going to the second portion to cover up the syllabus. So are you following what is the nature here of the topic?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So tomorrow we'll be start having the same class at 7 to 9. We'll be starting with what? Steady state. one-dimensional heat conduction with internal heat generation. For that, you only have to study plane wall. You don't have to study sphere and cylinder. You can forget that. And then we'll be discussing the fins concept. Fins is very important. Fins, we have to discuss the effectiveness and efficiency of a fin. If time permits, I will be also discussing transient heat condition. Okay, so this is all the topic that we will discuss tomorrow. So guys, let's wind up today's session. Let's again see tomorrow at 7 p.m. Okay, guys.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you for attending the session, guys. So let's again see tomorrow. Good night, guys.